Hi everyone, I'm here today with my February wrap up. I managed to read 14 books in February, which is slightly lower than my average, but I'm still doing really well in terms of my ridiculously low and unrealistic Goodreads goal, which I will eventually have to bump up because I'm already halfway through it. I only put it at 60 books and I have read 32 or 33 books this year so far. So I will just tell you about all of the books that I read in February. I didn't do a mid-month wrap up because I hadn't read as much to that point, so here it is all at once. Probably going to be a long video. I'll try to make it brief though, and I hope that you enjoy it. The first book that I read in February is a book that I have tried to read 6 separate times, and I was not going to let myself not finish it this time, and I had to marathon the entire series because I knew that as soon as I finished that book I would not read the rest. Like, you know, I'd have to reread the first book in a couple of years when I got to it, and that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I gave this book 4 stars, and when I talk about the other books I'm going to tell you some more of my thoughts. Next book that I read was How to Murder Your Life by Kat Marnell. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This is about Kat Marnell. It's her memoir. Obviously it's by Kat Marnell, about Kat Marnell talking about Kat Marnell. Anyway, so this is her memoir. She was a beauty editor and talking about her drug addiction, her life. It's a really interesting read, and there is a line from it that sums it all up perfectly when she's just like talking about how she'd go off to score drugs and come back and be up all night and be paranoid and go to work the next day and be popping Adderall to stay awake and then going out and partying all night, and that goes on, you know, for like a couple of chapters, and then she says, does this all sound repetitive to you? Welcome to drug addiction. And I just thought that that line summed everything up really well. The thing with this book is that it was announced maybe in 2014 that she was going to be writing it, and nothing came out until 2017. So there are some references to things that would have been relevant in 2014 or even before that, when she kind of had the idea to maybe write a memoir, and you can really tell it's not that the style of writing is disjointed, it's just that there are very specific pop culture references to that time period. I mean, like, at one point she talks about how something's like very Jersey Shore, and I mean, like, but like very season 1 Jersey Shore, if you've watched any of it, like there's something that happens and she kind of really specifically mentions it. So that's the only reason why I felt like some parts were written out of sequence, like they obviously are. I would definitely suggest picking this one up. I'm definitely not one for memoirs myself, but this just really caught my eye. It was in my February anticipated releases, so I'm really happy that I read that one. I also read another one of my most anticipated reads, and that is By Your Side by Casey West, and unfortunately I did not enjoy this one. I only gave it 2 stars. It is about a girl who gets trapped in the library for a weekend with this guy who is kind of like the loner, the bad kid. I think that there are just some things that Casey West can't really tackle. I've only read 2 of her books, but I definitely want to read more to see. There was a whole lot of other stuff added in on top of it that really just made the story kind of go everywhere, and it was trying to do too much and didn't really execute on any of the things. I mean, the foster care system's brought into it, mental health issues are brought into it, and I feel like they're not done correctly, and that's just my own personal opinion. I mean, if you've read it and loved it, that's really great. I'm so happy for you, but for me personally, it just didn't really work out. Okay, so after I read those 2 books, I was psyched, I was ready, and I picked up The Dream Thieves. This book took me 5,000 years to read. Oh my gosh. I know that The Raven Cycle has a huge following, and it's one of those stories that is definitely about the journey and not the destination. Because when I had finished The Dream Thieves, I went and I read Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and then I read The Raven King. I gave all of the books in The Raven Cycle a 4 stars, but it was because I could appreciate the fact that people will love these characters. I'm just not one of them. I didn't connect to anyone. I don't think that, I also said something, it was probably mean, but I think that it's very true. I said to my friend Jen that these books should not have been called The Raven Cycles. It should have been hipsters exploring caves while sticking their heads in bowls of water. Nothing happens in these fucking books, guys. Like, I'm just throwing that out there. Like, nothing happens. And yet again, if you love these books, that is awesome for you. For me, I probably would have loved them if I was younger, and the idea of having these 4 mysterious, weird guy friends, you know, like, but they all have this really odd codependent relationship while telling each other everything and nothing, And like I said, like nothing happens in 4 books, but there is character development. Connected to Blue's mum the most, and that was because I have kids, obviously, and I'm like, my kids are gonna do stupid shit when they're teenagers and I'm not gonna be able to stop them. If I was a parent to any of these kids and like this kid Gansey rocked up and was like, hey, we're gonna go find this like dead Welsh king and he's gonna grant us a wish, I would say to my kids, like, you need to get another hobby, you know, like this is kind of weird, like you're spending all of your free time like hunting down this thing, and it just, you know, it's just really, really strange to me how like no one was like, this is so stupid. Everyone just got like kind of enthralled with Gansey and was like, yeah, this is a totally great idea to fucking be like running around looking for this shit. Like it doesn't make any sense at all, you know, but it is a book, so I guess that's the thing. And I mean, if you love the Raven cycle, good for you. I didn't read for 2 days after finishing The Raven King, and I was like, this is it, man. This is where my book slump starts. I will never read again for the rest of my days. So I picked up this book called Star Kissed on the recommendation of Jen from Today Jen's Library, who I talk about in every single video because I love her that freaking much. And if you are not subscribed to her, go subscribe to her because she is like my book bestie. She's amazing, and I haven't talked to her today. That's very bad. I've got to rectify that immediately. This is a book about a girl who is just in New York. She's kind of, I think that she's the middle child of maybe 5 like exceptionally good looking sisters, and she looks nothing like them. And she is like out on the town, and this guy starts talking to her and she doesn't recognize him or anything, and then she sees these paparazzi photographing these 2 famous teenagers from some like franchise that's almost like Twilight, I think. And then the guy walks her out to a cab and he kisses her, and it turns out that he is also famous and she's everywhere on the news and all of that shit. I think that I gave this book like 3 stars or 2.5. Just really light, fluffy read. I mean, I finished it in what feels like 5 minutes. The next 2 books I read were because of Lisa from Books and Smiles. She is a new booktuber. You need to check her out. I will link her channel down below. And I read Book of Shadow, Coven. These books have been around for like what feels like 1,000 years, and they're only about 180 pages each. So awesome. Of course I had to read them. It's just about a girl who a mysterious, wonderful guy comes in and he wants to start a coven at her school, and it turns out that she's a really powerful witch. Of course, because obviously I gave both of the books 3 stars, but like I said, they're only 180 pages on average. This next book was a total waste of my time and I would not recommend it to anyone. It was Cat in Zombieland by Gina Showalter. This is like Cat's novella from the White Rabbit Chronicles, which we all know that I'm a huge fan of. Talk about that series. Not as much recently, but I do love it. Character of Cat in A Mad Zombie Party. I started to really dislike her when she was one of my favorite characters in the original trilogy. Obviously, A Mad Zombie Party needed to happen for the wrap up and the closure and everything. It does have different POVs. And just seeing kind of Cat's reaction to things and her plans behind stuff, I just didn't really like it. So yeah, I only gave that one 1.5 stars, and I would not recommend reading it because Gina Showalter actually had on Wattpad a lot of the chapters, and she's just sort of expanded upon it and then put it out in an ebook. So get those dollars, girl. I am slowly working my way through these novellas because there's like 8 of them out at the moment, and that is, I think it's Return to Oz by Danielle Page, and this is the first one, and it is basically what happens when Dorothy returns to Oz and she starts to corrupt the magic before Amy goes there to try to rescue Oz. I have talked about those books in my last month's wrap up, I'm pretty sure, because I marathoned them. So yeah, it's just one of those, and then there's a whole bunch of other novellas from the world, and I'm going to get to them eventually. There's just so many of them. Next, I read #Famous by Jilly Gagnon. This was one of my February anticipated reads. It came out on Valentine's Day. This was a 3-star book for me. It was kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be, and also not. I wanted him, the main male character, to be a little bit more uncomfortable with the attention that comes from it, because I mean, what happens is a girl takes a photo of a guy when he is just working and puts it onto this social media network called Flit, which is sort of like a combination of Tumblr and Instagram. It's sort of like all of them combined together for one thing, and he has all of these reflits. Photo goes viral, totally blows up, picked up by something that's really similar to the Ellen DeGeneres show, and then they're brought together and just asked to take him to homecoming, and it's like kind of almost like this quality segments about their lives, and it is really weird. Like the girl gets a lot of harassment and bullying. There's an ex-girlfriend that shows up, and that's just like a really weird element. And someone on Goodreads actually likened it to the Alex from Target viral photo phenomenon, and it's exactly like that. But like I feel like the guy should have been a bit more uncomfortable that he was just at work trying to do his job and like this all happened. Like he was just really happy-go-lucky about it and didn't really understand that social media can be dangerous in the way of like this poor girl was being attacked. And you know, it's a whole thing, but it probably shouldn't be read into that much, but that's just the way that I interpreted it personally. And like I said, it was a 3-star book. I decided to reread Amour by Krista and Becca Ritchie, which was a 5-star book for me back when I read it at the end of 2015, and was a 5-star book for me when I read it a couple of days ago. It was so good. I loved it. I really loved that world, and it was just amazing. The reason that I reread it is because another book set in the same universe came out at the end of January, I'm pretty sure, and that is Infini, and that is about one of Nikolai, who is the main male characters in Amour. It's about one of his brothers. He has 4 brothers and 1 sister, and I gave Infini 4 stars, I'm pretty sure. It was just really long. Like I think that it was maybe, I think Goodreads says that it might be like 500 and something pages on Kindle, which is just crazy long for a new adult book. General premise of it also is kind of like a bit odd. There's like this sort of, it's about Bailey and Luca, and something's happened 4.5 years previous, and they are not allowed to talk. Like they're not allowed to see each other, they're not allowed to even think about each other, and it's like a really random reason. But I do feel like in this world, it's called the aerial ethereal world because it is set in a circus in Vegas that's a lot like Cirque du Soleil, and they have a whole bunch of stuff going on there with that. But they have a younger sister named Katya, who during the course of the 2nd book, she turns 17. So I feel like in a couple of years, Becca and Krista Ritchie will probably write a book about her, just because she's always wanted to be more grown up, and I think that an adult romance is definitely something that they're going to give to her, and I will be for sure reading that. I feel like that's going to happen just because that's what happened with this one. So that is everything that I read in the month of February. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books. I love talking to you guys, so please let's do it. I hope that you have an amazing day wherever you are in the world. Lots of love, hugs, and kisses. Mwah! Bye.